ReviewPro, and she'll be discussing AI, automation, and the guest experience. So thanks for joining in today, and I hope you enjoy the presentation.
Hi everyone, welcome, and thanks everyone for having me, and thanks for joining. Welcome to today's webinar. It's brought to you by Tourism Industry Council South Australia and ReviewPro, AI, automation and the guest experience. So thanks again for all joining today. So my name is Avril Carter. I'm the Sales Director of ReviewPro for Australasia. And it's my pleasure to present this webinar today in conjunction with our partners at Tourism Industry Council. Before we get started, just a few administrative details. I heard Jess mention before to request just to cut down any background noise to just mute your line if you can. You're welcome to ask questions or make comments at any time during the session just by using the Q&A on your screen. We also invite you to follow us and share your comments on Twitter. Be sure to include the @ReviewPro in your tweets. We will try to answer any of your questions, as many as time permits, during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. We are recording this webinar, and a link to the recording will be sent to all registrants from Tourism Council South Australia in the following days. You will find all of our main webinars that ReviewPro do, and also a wealth of guides and learning materials in the resource hub at reviewpro.com. So today I'm going to hopefully bring some clarity to trends around AI, automation and the new guest that are impacting tourism in 2020. We'll look at tech trends that will help tourism operators overcome some of these challenges. Firstly, automation. How can tourism operators use it to increase efficiency, consistency and reliability? Second, artificial intelligence. What exactly does it mean, and how can it be used to improve operations, decision-making and the guest experience? And thirdly, chatbots. Why are they the next big thing in service? Finally, we're going to take a look into what the new guest will look like and how AI and automation are changing the guest experience. Firstly, just a short introduction to ReviewPro. We've been around for nearly 10 years, developing solutions to understand and act upon guest feedback. Today, we're serving over 60,000 establishments in over 150 countries, whether they be small independent hotels, international chains, tourism businesses, destinations, investors. We work with our clients and partners to enable them to leverage guest intelligence in a way that positively impacts both the guest experience and their results. With the information that we collect and the insights generated, we help clients adjust their operational service priorities to be able to action guest feedback. Our suite of tools include online reputation management, guest survey platform messaging, and they're all supported with case management and workflow tools. At any one time, ReviewPro is being used to identify operational deficiencies such as broken Wi-Fi as reported in an in-stay survey, isolating the issues around the service of breakfast to guests of different nationality using our semantic analysis, or deciding how to invest in a specific city using competitive analysis, or allocating CapEx for new beds as identified in a guest survey. In 2016, ReviewPro became part of the Shiji group of companies and who are all dedicated to create transformative hospitality technology. And with their support, we're continuing to invest in product development, making sure our clients can always be improving their guest experience. So let's start with some of the key topics. Firstly, what is automation? The concept of automation is fairly simple compared to some of the other topics we will talk about. Automation essentially is the use of machines and computers to perform tasks with minimal or no human assistance. Typically, tasks are automated to increase efficiency, consistency and reliability, and also to save costs and prevent human error. Often the tasks are simple and repetitive or require a lot of mental or physical effort and can be done by machines or computers more easily, quickly, inexpensively, and more competitively than humans. Automation has been in manufacturing, as we know, for years, and today we are seeing more of it in service industries, allowing consumers to perform tasks for themselves. So, example for banking, ATMs and online banking. With airlines, online check-in and kiosks have been around for years, as we know. In retail, more shopping is happening online, and we're seeing more self-checkout machines in supermarkets. If you've ever been to an Amazon Go store in the US, you'll know it's all fully automated. There's no employees, cashiers or lines. You just grab what you want from the shelves and they're automatically charged to your account via the Amazon app. In hotels, automation is increasingly common, but it's less about using gimmicky humanoid robots delivering towels to your room and more about providing guests the option of serving themselves and assisting employees performing manual.
Yes, we're all plodding along. We've got some money from the government, which is good.
Someone's got
And
their
a couple of bookings are coming in. So.
Alga Premium.
Yes.
Might be best to mute yourself.
Yes.
I don't know if someone can maybe message. I think it comes up as Trafalgar Premium Vintage.
No worries.
Knows who that is?
That's fine.
We can hear his phone conversation.
So there'll be 3 of you? Yep, that's right. I'll set the single bed up. Yep. 30th of June to the 3rd of July. That's the Friday, the 3rd. Yep, okay. Yep, no worries. I'll send a confirmation out to you.
Sorry, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Barb. See you then. Bye.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm not sure if someone from Trafalgar Vintage Premium is on the line, but you haven't got your microphone muted, so we can hear your phone conversation. So if you don't mind, just pop your microphone on mute, and that would be great. Thank you. He's muted now. Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks everyone. So as I was saying, we're talking about automation. In hotels, automation is increasingly common, and we're seeing it more with things like serving yourselves and assisting employees performing manual and data-heavy tasks. Examples of some guest-facing automation in hotels include things like your pre-stay confirmations and messaging, online check-in and check-out, self-service cafes, concierge service and post-stay surveys. Examples of employee-facing in automation include guest registration, profile and payment management, marketing automations, revenue management systems, guest feedback management, and case management are all examples of automation. That brings us to our new tech trend, AI, or artificial intelligence. The simple definition is the creation of intelligent machines that think, behave, and learn like humans. Machine learning is an application of AI that gives systems the ability to learn and improve without being explicitly programmed. The key difference is that while automation and standard computing rely on human inputs and algorithms, AI is able to learn on its own and is able to change, adapt, and grow based on new data. So if we look at an example, a basic revenue management system will provide a hotel with recommendations on what rates to offer on a given date. Recommendations are based on a series of human inputs like anticipated demand, historical data, and market conditions. This is a form of automation. If, however, the revenue management system learns and improves its recommendations over time without employee involvement, then that's a form of artificial intelligence. A major focus of AI is data processing. Humans are limited in the volume and speed of data they can process, whereas obviously computers can process vast amounts of data in a short period of time. AI uses data to do things like identify and explain patterns, understand relationships and correlations, predict future trends and behaviour, prescribe the best course of action, or it simply makes decisions on its own. If, like me, you enjoy Spotify for listening to your music, you'll be aware of how AI is used for sorting and predicting your music preferences. Today, AI forms a critical part of many of the platforms and apps that we all use in our everyday lives. So it's used by voice assistants such as Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, helping them get smarter and understand, predict, and answer users' questions. It's used in self-driving vehicles like Tesla, and it's used by Netflix, Amazon and Spotify, as I mentioned, to recommend purchases based on our previous choices, our ratings and other consumer behaviour. In hotels, AI is still relatively new. However, it's starting to be integrated into all sorts of systems, from revenue management to CRM to guest feedback management. Looking ahead, AI has the potential to transform our daily lives in ways we can't imagine, from healthcare to finance to travel. And you see I've included here this little quote on the side, just a jokey quote that I saw on Instagram that I found amusing back at the start of the year, when, if any of you use Spotify and were sent your list of your list for you, so like the type of the music that you've been listening to, this is just a funny thing that someone said, that they thought, wow, it's so accurate, you know, that people don't sort of realise that behind that it's just basically collecting data about your preferences. So a type of automation that has really taken off in recent years is chatbots. This is the third tech trend that we're talking about today. A chatbot is a computer program designed to simulate conversations with human users. It's a basic. A simple chatbot provides answers to users' questions by matching questions with predefined answers. A more advanced chatbot uses artificial intelligence to learn and improve on its own, expanding its range of questions and answers the more that it interacts with users. Many chatbots use natural language processing, or NLP. Examples of NLP can be found in Google Search, Google Translate, in voice assistants, and in predictive text, in text messaging. ReviewPro users will be familiar with semantic analysis, which uses NLP to interpret the meaning of guest comments in reviews and surveys. Chatbots are a natural product of the explosive growth of messaging in recent years, which in itself has been driven by the ubiquity of smartphones. Today, we encounter chatbots everywhere online, from our phone company to your insurance company. In the past, you may have found chatbots a frustrating experience, requiring the intervention of a live employee. But in more recent times, chatbots have become much smarter and more self-sufficient. The better chatbots become, and the more we encounter them, the more we will come to expect them and maybe even prefer them as a customer service option, including at hotels and other tourism businesses. I know myself, I've had a number of really positive experiences recently with chatbots for customer service, and now I've started to expect them on all websites, and I sometimes find it frustrating when they don't have one. So if you look around the press, what you're seeing is that AI is becoming very visible in our world. It's been with us for a few years, but we have not really noticed it. As we said earlier, it's how Google decides what to show you in your search results, how Spotify recommend your music, etc. But more and more, we're going to come face to face with AI and automation in a very direct way, and not in those indirect ways that we have today. Many people are predicting it's going to have a huge influence in our society and how we live and how we work. So we have to think, how is that going to affect us in the tourism industry, and also how we react? So we also have another factor to consider amongst our new technology that we're discussing today, and that is what I call the new guest. Travel has changed, and so will our travellers. To meet the expectations of tomorrow's guests, tourism and accommodation providers will have to understand and incorporate new needs for privacy, for cleanliness, for different technology. We'll need to have a good understanding of an adaptation to things like the new traveller mindset, implementing protocols for health and hygiene and social distancing, levering technology to move from high touch to no touch hospitality, building your reputation as a safe, clean and stress-free haven. So let's look at what one might expect of the new guest. Firstly, it will be important to focus on changes in customer experience and expectations. Importantly, what preferences will guests have now in your operation? Secondly, consider switches in customer perceptions. For example, the market strength of apartments versus hotels, where they have their own kitchens, are self-sufficient and can practice social distancing, may now be perceived in a different way to how they were previously. Similar perception changes could have shifted for other accommodation types, such as holiday parks, where there's room to be more self-sufficient, out in the open, etc. For activities, how might perceptions have changed for certain activities, from walking, hiking, to visiting attractions and wineries, etc.? How might that affect your business, and what opportunities or challenges might that present? At a broader level, how have customer perceptions changed of a destination? Whether that be a country like Australia, a state, South Australia, or a region like, say, the Barossa Valley or the Kangaroo Island region. And what about consumption patterns? How has that changed for travel? So patterns in booking trends and length of stay may change, the mix of corporate versus leisure travel, or the mix of domestic versus international. In terms of communication, we really should make full use of all of our platforms and transform them from one-way communication or one-way notification communication to two-way interactive communication where possible, and utilise these channels to effectively understand and respond to customers in a timely manner. What's imperative, and that I think all of us have learned, is that clear, correct communication is more important now than ever. It makes your brand accessible and trustworthy. It's needed to communicate laws and regulations and protocol and safety. It helps clarify booking policies, so make sure that they are transparent, accessible, and provide assurance. Internally clarifying F&B and housekeeping, general operation protocols and practices that ensure cleanliness, safety, etc. is all paramount. Other considerations that are going to affect us post-COVID-19 are things like less staff, less languages, less time, need for quick implementation and proven ROI, need to ramp up alternative revenue streams, time for technological evolution. Consider that the market is opting towards automated and touchless technology. Consider the need to manage the huge uptake of messaging and digital platforms, especially in older demographics. I mean, how many of you, your parents or your grandparents, now use WhatsApp video call and Zoom? Like my 75-year-old mother-in-law was doing Zumba by Zoom the other day. So in the past, you know, only a matter of a few months ago, so many of this older demographic would not have used these platforms, and now have become really pushed into the world of messaging, and that's going to become part of their lives as well. And they're going to start to expect it in business opportunities as well, or commercial transactions and so on. And also the need for fresh insights into guest behaviour and needs in constantly changing times. So, you know, how is guest behaviour changing? What data are you going to use to find that information? So as an illustration of that last point about the need for fresh insights into guest behaviour and needs in constantly changing times, I was interested to check out what travellers were already saying about the coronavirus in their online reviews using our semantic analysis. For those of you that are familiar with ReviewPro, semantic analysis is a tool that detects mentions of key concepts within feedback, like reviews or survey responses, and assigns them as either positive or negative, so operators can understand the impact of specific topics. To help our clients understand the impact of the COVID-19 is having online reputation, we created the category medical and health within the semantic analysis tool. And this detects concepts and synonyms in 17 languages related to the coronavirus, like COVID-19, pandemic, and state of emergency, and so on. So I took a look at some sample hotels just to see what they have received. And the first ones you can see here is that these properties are doing really well and you know, responding to the situation. So they're getting some positive results. As in any crisis, it's important to know right away what guests are saying. To ensure that you stay informed, you can set alerts for specific concepts and receive an email when they're mentioned. Update your current response strategy to fit these exceptional circumstances. Communicate clearly with everyone on how they should respond to COVID-19 reviews and what escalation processes they should follow in case a guest makes some serious accusations. This will provide a quick and swift response, which is crucial when handling sensitive crises. Responding to reviews is now a priority, whether positive or negative. If your guests took the time to leave a positive comment, thank them for their support and show appreciation. If your guest is concerned about any aspect of their time during their stay with you, then you know, use time to take action and either escalate it to a senior member of staff or take the time to follow up. And alleviate any worries. And remember that it is not only your guests, but thousands of potential guests that will be looking to be able to regain trust and confidence. So ensure you stand out. Just circling back to our discussion earlier around AI, we can see from these statistics that guests are absolutely ready for AI. In this recent survey, 45% of customers said they don't care if they're served by a human or a robot as long as they serve quickly. So if you consider that around some examples like someone waiting at a reception desk to be helped, on the one hand, we as hospitality professionals like the idea of being able to serve everyone face to face and use that contact. But at the same time, we have to consider now people are very much like, well, we don't really care as long as we get the answer because they want it quickly. So that's something to consider around that. 78 expect constant interactions across the company's departments, and 70% of guest requests are now handled automatically by AI-enabled response in technology. Guests are also wanting to communicate in new ways, so that's something else to consider. Consider the power of mobile, not just for booking capability, but for interactive communication across the entire guest journey. It's flexible, it's accessible, and it's convenient for everyone. Think about, what does mobile-centric mean? It's autonomy throughout the experience. It provides an opportunity to redefine and, importantly, enhance the guest experience. It's also not only for guests, but also for staff. Then going beyond the convenience factor, it also improves service and drives long-term loyalty, provides data to transform the guest experience, it's all feedback, and meets the demands of guests post-COVID-19. So we've at ReviewPro been running a messaging product for our clients for over 2 years now, with clients using this across the world. It's a platform that allows them to manage messaging from multiple messaging platforms into one central area. And you know this, you look at this and I'm sure that most of you know, when do most of your requests occur? Nearly 50% of them are outside office hours. And this is just from a selection of our clients around the world that were using messaging that was running 24/7. We also know that of those requests that occur outside office hours, between 6 p.m. and 12 a.m. are the most intense time. And there's a cost to every interaction and customer support query or request in reality. And this graph illustrates the cost of providing that support. So this comes as no surprise, obviously, that having some kind of AI and automation in there can save costs. So what does this all mean for tourism providers? At ReviewPro, we've been spending time in development and also asking ourselves and our clients what that means for them. How do we apply that to tourism providers? What are the problems and opportunities that we have as tourism operators to think about as we go into this new wave of AI? Perhaps if any of you on the call have been using AI-driven tools in your organisation, maybe you can share some of those comments in the Q&A, and maybe we can share those afterwards. Would be interesting. So the first thing that struck us when we were looking at this is how much information drives the guest journey. There are so few products or services, from choosing the hotel or the activity, like which city, is it near a conference centre, does it have a pool, and so on, all those questions, to during the stay, you know, when you get there, how do I get from the hotel to the hotel from the airport, what time's check out, can I get room service, what time's the spa open, and that are so driven by the constant need for information. It's a very, very information-driven experience. At all parts of the guest journey, whether they are still in the discovery phase or about to check out, information is the key driver, and the quick and successful exchange of that information is the key to success. So as a consumer, if I can't get the information I need, I won't reserve. And as a guest, if I don't get the information I need when I need it, I won't be satisfied. So there's kind of two aspects to that. And today we live in a world where we're used to grabbing that information from the cloud when we need it, as we need it. A great illustration of this is in the messages that guests send to our clients via our messaging solution that I mentioned before. They're the same questions over and over, regardless of the type of business it is, regardless of whether it's a luxury hotel or whether it's a hostel and so on. For example, a chain of 30 city hotels, 63% of the emails and messages that come in are asking the same 8 questions. In a larger chain with a larger spread of hotel types, with resorts and things like that, fully integrated resorts, 91% of their emails and messages are from the same 18 questions. And what are the guests asking? They're asking the basic questions that they already have in their email when you send their confirmation. They already have in their room, in their property guide. How do I get there? What time can I check in? What time's breakfast? It's that when they want it now. They're not necessarily keeping that. Like, I don't know about you, but when I travel now, I don't print out any of my confirmations. I take my phone with me, and I just rely on my phone for grabbing everything. And you kind of know that if you need that information, you can just ask that now. The capacity of things like our contact centres, our receptions, our booking agents, our visitor centres are being used by the transferal of very basic information, but vital importance to guests, but it's basic information. This is a huge amount of noise that is getting in the way of your reservations agents selling, your reception staff offering a speedier service, and so on. Interestingly, we found that messaging is becoming the preferred channel for consumers to communicate with businesses. I spoke earlier of how we've worked with hundreds of hotels rolling out guest messaging. We've been surprised to find that getting good and up-to-date information into the system is difficult for many organisations. So only 10% of those who rolled out our messaging have been able to create a central knowledge base. And when we have got this information together, often there are discrepancies. So corporate says the parking is one price, but the property says it's another, and so on. You know, it'd be interesting to know, how would your company fare with that, with having a centralised knowledge base? It's a real challenge, and it's not a criticism. It's a challenge that everyone faces, regardless of the size. We're not talking about it's not necessarily just small operations. We're talking about, you'd expect some of these really big organisations to have a handle on it. But it's hard when there's nobody responsible for this, and you tend to find that regardless of the organisation, it's very rare that you have anyone that's just responsible for centralised knowledge base. And also when things change constantly, and especially when staff change all the time, especially on the property level. Like some of the stats, there's a US statistics, but the US Bureau of Labour and Statistics puts the turnover of staff at 73.8, so it's 5 times the US average, equivalent of 6% of your workforce leaving every month. This is for hotels. And now we have an even bigger potential problem with staff resources and their knowledge leaving. Turnover and lack of knowledge from all the many stand downs and inevitable layoffs that the industry has had to face and implement. When the queries come back, we may not have the knowledge or the number of resources to cope with replying in a timely manner or knowing the information. When guests ask, they expect a response. For example, we all know that booking.com lets guests send a message to the property after they've reserved, and Expedia allows guests to fill in and comment on their check-in via an in-stay survey. When we spoke to our clients, none of them could say that they responded to those messages in a timely manner. In fact, 50% was the best that we got from any of our clients, and including bigger hotel groups that are replying to those critical messages. This is particularly worrying in someone like booking.com because they have their free cancellation offer, which means that often the person messaging you will have already had an alternative booked if they don't get the information they need. So a lot of people, as you probably know, I mean, probably guilty of it myself, you can go onto Booking and you can book, 3 or 4 hotels before you decide which one you're going to actually confirm. So when you get that booking, they really should be treated as leads, not bookings. Yet most of the hotels that we speak to are really doing a bad job in responding to those messages that people are sending after they've made their reservation, because the volume is challenging, and managing this is also outside your standard tools. So that presents a challenge. So it's potentially affecting your ability to convert business. If you're not replying in time, and they get a response from another hotel, they're more likely to book that. Hotels and tourism businesses, we're 24/7, 365-day businesses, and a large percentage of messages are received outside the hours that your reservations or general staff are working. Where we are doing a better job is review responses, but it's also one of the most significant time drains facing property staff today. We know this better than anybody. What would they do if they had to spend 50% less of their time in front of their computers? It would give them more time to concentrate on service. So these are some of the big problems that we've been thinking about when we have been in development around AI and automation. And we're sure that the organisations that help their guests easily and quickly are going to be rewarded with more satisfied guests and greater operational efficiency. So the message is, be present in the new guest journey. Think about all the stages in your guest journey and where automation and AI can potentially play a role in enhancing the guest experience. What methods of communication are you providing for guests to contact you in the planning phase? And how manual are your processes? So this is an example from our message hub of someone contacting a youth hostel pre-stay. And what about during their stay or during their experience, if it's an activity? What methods of communication are you providing for your guests during that time, and how are you handling that? And after the experience, are there opportunities maybe to continue to provide great service and develop the relationship further? So for example, in this one, someone classically having left a hotel and contacting them. So for us, without going into great detail, we're implementing AI across our platform that will help our clients. We as an organisation want to continue to help our clients and partners to create great experiences and ensure that guest feedback is acted upon both reactively and proactively, continues to help clients around the globe exceed expectations. We'll also make sure that ReviewPro will continue to provide the technology when perhaps the experience didn't quite match what guests were expecting. With AI, we plan to make sure that the end users, the most important to us at ReviewPro, have the right tools at their disposal to ensure that they have more time to create those experiences. So finally, remember that automation and information drives the guest journey. That's probably the biggest message that I wanted to convey today about AI in general, and consider the connection between AI, information, and how it drives that guest journey and where you fit in that picture. Information is what drives guests these days, whether it be prior, during, or post the experience. The information needs to be easily available to the guest to help them have a pleasant and trouble-free experience. For those of you that are interested in further webinars, we have a webinar coming up on Tuesday, the 26th of May, and it's called From High Touch to No Touch, Transforming the Guest Experience. We have a couple of interesting speakers. We have Neil James, who's the COO of ReviewPro, and also Craig Bond from Onyx Hospitality Group in Thailand that have properties all around Asia that are going to share some of their thoughts and experiences around this topic. So feel free to join that. That pretty much covers it for me. I might just look into the chat here and just see if we have any questions. Jess, I'm not sure if you want to jump in and if you have anything you wanted to say, if there's anything from, if you want to talk about your next upcoming webinar. I hope that everyone enjoyed this session. I hope it provided, I know there was some of the info was you know, back to basics, so hopefully it was still of interest for you. I'm just seeing it hasn't really got many. Someone mentioned they're using blended AI to gather post-service feedback and satisfaction surveys, which is great. Robbie says, thank you, it's great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Robbie, from Robe Harbourview Motel. Someone asked about getting your password login for ReviewPro. So thanks, Robbie. We'll take that offline and we'll follow up on that one in particular. We'll do that through Tourism Industry Council. And I think the rest of the comments were around people feeling a little bit cold and chilly in South Australia. Okie doke. Okay, if there's nothing else from anyone else, thank you very much, and thanks Roz and Jess and Evelyn and everyone from South Australia Tourism Industry Council. It's been a real pleasure to host some of these webinars, and if there's any other sessions that you would like to do or join, let me know. Thank you.